Hi, I am Ranganatha K, Assistant Professor, Department of Information Science and Engineering, Kendra Engineering College, Mangalore. So from this video, I am going to try to cover a database management system subject. So for this subject, DBMS subject, we need to refer the textbook. There are two textbooks are there. One is Fundamentals of Database System by Ramesh Elmisri and Shamakant B. Nawate, 7th edition, 2017 Pearson publication. And second textbook is Database Management System by Raghu Ramakrishnan and Greg, 3rd edition, 2014 McGraw-Hill Publishers. These are the two images of the textbook which we are referring. Fundamentals of Database System, 7th edition, and one more is Raghu Ramakrishnan, that is Database Management System. And there are two reference textbooks. One is Database System Concepts, 6th edition by Silvers, Karth and Sudarshan by McGraw-Hill Publications. And second reference textbook is Database Principles, Fundamentals of Design, Implementation and Management by Cornell Morris and Robb are the authors. So 2012 is the year of publication. These are the course objectives. First objective of the course is provide the strong foundation in database concepts, technology and practice. Second course objective is practice SQL programming through a variety of database problems. And third objective, implementation of JDBC and SQLJ procedure with internet application. And the third objective of this course is build the normalization algorithm concepts on the database design theory. And the last course objective, demonstrate the use of concurrency and transaction in database. Course outcome. What is the result after learning this course? First point, the first outcome is identify, analyze and define database objects, enforce integrity constraints on the database using RDBMS concepts. Second outcome is usage of the structured query language for a database manipulation. Third point or third outcome, acquiring the knowledge of the JDBC and SQLJ with internet applications. And the fourth outcome is design and build the simple database system like library management, student database management, employee database management, etc. So fifth outcome is able to demonstrate the use of concurrency and transactions in database. Prerequisites. Before learning the course, the learner should have the knowledge of three subjects. One is he should have a basic knowledge on discrete mathematics structures, and he should have a knowledge on the basic mathematical operations or concepts, and also the learner should have a C programming knowledge and as well as basics of Java knowledge. Once the learner is having these three subjects knowledge, then it is very easy to learn the concepts of the DBMS language. Database course outlines. Under this database course outline, so we are just going through the overview of the contents. First, we are covering about the introduction to database, overview of the database language and architecture, conceptual data modeling using entities, and what is meant by entity, what are all the different types of entities are there, and what is meant by a relationship. So DBMS architecture, so 3-layer architecture, 3-tier architecture. So those are all the concepts we are learning from the part 1. In the second part, we are learning about the relational model and also relational algebraic notations, relational algebraic expressions. We are writing by using a relational algebraic expression for a relational queries. So then mapping the conceptual design into a logical design means how to convert the conceptual design into a logical design. Those 7 steps we are going to learn how we are converting from the conceptual design to a logical design. And then we are learning about the basic concepts of the SQL. What is the data types, different data types we are using under the SQL programming concepts, and what is the syntax of the different commands in the SQL query language, and as well as basic query concepts that we are learning from the module 2. In the module 3, we are going to learn the advanced queries, how to write the nested queries, correlated nested queries, and as well as some advanced commands we are going to learn under the SQL. And then database application development. Then we will start to design, or we are going to develop some small database like student database, employee database, by using these advanced queries, how to operate, how to insert the values, how to retrieve the values, how to manipulate the values. That are all we are learning from the module 3. And from the module 4, how to normalize the given database. So while designing the database, and that theory we are going to learn, like 1NF, first normal form, second normal form, third normal form, bicoded normal form, and 5NF, that is multi-valued dependency. Those are all the normal forms we are learning from the module 4. And apart from that, we are also learning some of the algorithms, how to apply those algorithms for normalizing the given database. Those algorithms are also we are going to cover under the module 4. And in the module 5, we are concentrating on transaction processing system, how the transactions will be taken up, from the client to server and server to client. And as well as how we are maintaining and managing the concurrency control in the database, and as well as introduction to database recovery protocols, different level of protocols we are going to learn. That is, example is 2PL, write ahead logging protocol. Those are all protocols, how it works, how we are implementing in the database, that we are going to cover under the course outline of the DBMS. Now we will move to module 1. So in the module 1, we are covering the 4 topics. One is history of the database applications. Second one is introduction to database. Third, characteristics of DBMS approach. And fourth point is advantages of using DBMS approach. Though now we will move to the history of the database. Under the history, just when the concept is started, in which year it is concepted, how it is enhancement has been done for the existing concepts, that we are learning under the historical perspective. So the point 1, the DBMS was designed in 1960s by Charles Bechman. So initially what he has been designed, we are not calling it as a DBMS, we are calling it as integrated data store. So Charles Bechman were designed under the 1960. So that designing specification we were calling it as a integrated data store. Late 1960, in the IBM we were developed the information management system. Integrated data store is converted into a information management system. So then in the late 1970s, Igor Cod at IBM were developed actually relational data model, that is RDBMS concepts were started under the 1970s. In the late 1980s, the work were enhanced in the R&D model and find the software, that software we are calling it as a DBMS software. So basically the DBMS contains the query language for a relational database, call it as a SQL. SQL is one of the query language. SQL stands for structured query language. So in late 1980s and 1990s, advances were made for the existing database. So many areas of the database system were started to use many languages came into existing. So those are all. So MySQL, MS Access, Oracle, Cbase, Informix, Postgres, and SQL Server. We were using SQL Server as the standard database language. So that stands for standard structured query language.
Second topic is introduction. In the introduction, we are going to learn the concept of what is meant by database, what is meant by data, what is meant by database management system, and some examples on the data record and data elements, and also a simplified environment of the database system figure. So these are the topics we are learning from the introduction part. So first point is what is meant by a database. A database is a collection of related data. For example, if I'm talking about the student data, students will be having a USN, name, address, phone number. These are all related data of the database student. So this is an example of the database. So next one is what is meant by a data. Data is nothing but it's a known fact that can be recorded and that have some useful meaning. For example, data is nothing but I have given example of student. Student is the database, USN, name, phone number, address, marks. These are all related data or else known facts where we can save the information of a particular student. So therefore we are all these we are calling it as a data. So for example, so name, telephone number and address etc. will be the data so of the database student. And some database should have some implicit properties. There are three properties are there, database properties. First property is changes to the mini world are reflected in the database. For example, so if I'm considering a student database, if I have made any modifications for the existing value, then it needs to reflect in the database. Means automatically the database should be modified, should be updated in that manner. So the database that is a property of the database. For example, student will be having a marks, USN, name, address. If address is changed, student address, then we need to reflect it in the address particular column or particular field or particular value. So that is what we are calling it as a changes to the mini world are reflected in the database. Second point, a database is logically coherent collection of data with some inherent meaning. So it means, for example, consider two database system. One is student data and second one is department. The student database will be having a column, so or else a particular field that is department number. So for student database will consist USN, name, department number. Similarly, the department database will be consisting of department number. So here the department number will act as a primary key in the department table. Here the same value we are using in the student table or same field values, that is department number, that is what we are calling it as a there will be some relationship between these two tables. That relationship we are calling it as a logically coherent collection of the data with some inherent meaning. Third implicit property of the database is a database is designed, built and populated with the data for a specific purpose. So we are going to create the database or else we are designing the database for a specific application purpose based on the what type of application we are using, for what type of database we are going to create for which application, that is a specific purpose also we can design, build and as well as we can use that database. So for example, if we are using a database for a airline reservation, bus reservation or else train reservation, or else we want to maintain a student database, we want to maintain a banking database, then so these are all we are calling it as a specific purpose we are designing, we are building or we are populating that database to the users. That is a third implicit property of the database. Now we will move to the next topic. A database management system means what? What is the meaning of DBMS? The DBMS is nothing but it's a collection of programs that enables the user to create and maintain a database. Means database system is a software. It supports to the user to create and as well as to maintain the database. So apart from the creating and as well as maintaining, so which is also facilitates the process of defining, constructing, manipulating and as well as sharing the database among the various users also. So one more point is it is also not only facilitates these process, along with that it will also facilitate the protection of the database and as well as maintaining it over a longer time period. This is the meaning of database management system. So the database and as well as database software together we are calling it as a database system. Now we will see how the database system will looks from the figure. Now this is the figure how the database system will looks. It is a simplified database system environment where you can see DBMS software and as well as application programs. DBMS software and application programs are interacting together, and then we are storing the data into this databases. So where these are the two storage medias are there. First storage media we are calling it as a metadata. Second storage media we are calling it as stored database. The metadata is nothing but a database definition where we are storing a definition of the database, structure of the database, syntax and semantics, all we are calling it as a metadata. So where we are going to store a whole structure of the database system in this database. That is what we are calling it as metadata. In the stored database, so one more storage device. Here in this storage device we are storing a actual value of the database. Actual value we are storing and we are retrieving from this database. Now so these are the users who are using our database system. So here normal users are there, or general purpose users are there, and as well as programmers are there. They are using our database system. These two members or end users are using our application or our database system. So they will be using our application programs that we are calling it as SQL query, or else in the Java we are embedding our SQL query. In the C++ program also we are embedding our SQL query, Python also. So with respect to a high level application program, the data will be interfacing with the database system software. Then the software to process the queries, which are all the queries are coming from the user. Then the software will be identifying the type of the query, what type of query. It will going to read the information or database program from that application program, and then it will try to access the storage data from the stored database. So first it will going to check whether the request is according to our syntax and semantics or not. According to our structure, the query has been requested or not. If it is correct, then syntax and semantics has been cross verified. If it is verified, then so requested data will be retrieving from this second storage media where actual data we are stored. The requested data will be sent it back to the requested user. This is how a database system will works. Now we will move to an example of database system. So in the database system, basically we are identifying two things. One is data record and second one is data element. So now first we will try to understand what is meant by a data record, and second we will try to understand what is meaning of the data element. Now so you can see this is a one example of the database system. So student is the database system. So this is the student is the database system. Name, student number, class, major, we are calling it as a data record. And here Smith, Brown, 17, 8, 1, 2, CS are the, we are calling it as a data elements. Am I clear? So once again, the student is the database name, student number, class, major are the data records,
Smith 17.1 CS, these are all we are calling it as a data elements. Data elements are nothing but values of the database. So next, one more example you can see here, course. Course is nothing but it is a database. Course name, course number, credit hours, department are the data records. Introduction to computer science, data structure, discrete mathematics, database. Course numbers are here, credit hours are here, values are here, department values are also here. These are all we are calling it as a data element. Either you may consider like row wise, we are calling it as a one data element, second data element, third data element, fourth data element. Like this you can also consider the data elements. These are all we are calling it as a data record. This is what we are calling it as course is nothing but a database. So similarly, one more example we will see here. Section is the database, section identifier is a data record, course number is also data record, semester, year, instructor, these are all we are calling it as a data record. Data elements are nothing but values of that data record. Like section identifier is there, these are all section identified values like 85, 92, 102, 112, so on. These are all we are calling it as a data element. Similarly, course number also, semester also, year also, and instructors also. These are all we are calling it as a data elements of this particular database, that is section. Now just I will say one example. You can go to with the course database and section database. In these two databases there are two records are there. So one of the two records are common between these two. You can see here, this is the course name, here course number is there. This course number and this course number both are same data records. Are you getting my point? Here both are same data records. You can see here the values are uniquely identified values, here also it is uniquely identified values. But so in particular data element that value might be repeated. So math 2410 CS1310, here also CS1310 is there. So CS3320, here also CS3320 is there. These same data elements we are using between these two tables. Once if I go through with this data record, it indicates that when I'm comparing between these two databases, there might be some logical coherent relationship between these two tables, which I have explained in the implicit property of the database. Now by using this course record or data record, I can try to relate between these two tables based on this course number. Based on this course number, there will be some logical relationship between these two tables. This is what some examples of the data record and as well as data element. Now we will move to the database design process. The database design process will include the 4 steps. The first step 1 is requirement specification, second step is conceptual design, third step is logical design, and the fourth step is physical design. This is how we are going to designing our database process. Please remember, the database process will be having a 4 steps: requirement specification, conceptual design, logical design, and physical design. Now we will start with the requirement specification. The requirement specification is nothing but collecting the data or information from the user by doing an interview specification method, or else by getting the by filling the feedback form method. So we are going to collect the information on our application specific database. So for which database we are designing, what requirement specifications are there, based on that we will going to collect the information from the user. That is a step 1. In the step 2, after collecting that those requirement specification or data, we will start to do the analysis on that data, whether that data is required or not. Based on that we are doing a filtration method of the data, that is we are calling it as a data analysis and from the requirement specification, and which are all required we will return it back, and the remaining data which is not required then we will remove from the requirement specification. And after complete finalized data requirement specification, then we will move to design a conceptual design, that is entity relationship diagrams, or we are designing a entity relationship modeling specifications. Then based on that modeling specification we will going to normalize that entity relationship diagram by using a cardinality ratio, either 1:1 or 1:n or m:n. Based on that we are going to normalizing that entity relationship model, and after that once again we will do the data model verification. The data model verification is nothing but from which entity to which entity our data is transmitting, or from which entity to which entity our data is transmitting, and what type of relationship we have specified for between the two entities. That is what we are calling it as a data model verification. Once a data model verification has been done properly, then we will be distributing that database design for the further specification. Okay, that is what are all the steps we are going to follow under the conceptual design. Next we are selecting the database, what type of database language you want to design. Like you might be using a PostgreSQL method or SQL method or MySQL method, any database language you can select. Then we will start to converting the conceptual design into logical design. The logical design is the third phase of the database design process, where whatever the information we have retrieved from the conceptual design, we will start to work on that one. Actual design specification, we are program design specification by using a DBMS language, we are converting a conceptual design into a logical design. That is map conceptual model to logical model components. Means here we are trying to convert our conceptual model into a logical model. There are 7 steps are there, which we will learn in the next class, how to convert this conceptual model into a logical model component. So after converting it into a logical model, then we will be validating that logical model, whether it is works according to the end user requirement specification or not, whether the data is transmitting from one model to another model according to the requirement specification or not. That we are checking, and as well as we are validating that model by giving an input, and as well as we are going to check the expected output result. Similarly, we are also going to check validating the logical model which we have designed by applying the integrity constraints. Integrity constraints are nothing but primary key constraints, foreign key constraints, cardinality ratio constraints, which we are applying, and then we are going to cross verifying whether it works properly or not between the 2 or more number of models or logical models, and then validate the logical model against user requirement specification. This is the last step we are doing under the logical designing specification. According to the end user requirement specification, one more time we are going to check the logical design which we have designed, or the model which we have component model which we have designed, whether it works according to the end user requirement specification or not. Then so once logical designing specifications are done, or logical component model is done, then we will move to the this total logical designing specification we are doing by using a language, that is structured query language. Either that depends on the what type of DBMS software you have selected. Based on that we are designing a logical designing component model. Last step is physical design. Under the physical design, so we will going to check the data storage organization. So what type of data it is, where we need to store, what type of memory allocation we have done for that data. So that are all constraints we are maintaining under the physical design. And also we have defined the integrity constraints and security measures for the data. So that is what we are calling it as a username, password. We are protecting the data, and then we are going to determine the performance measures, how much amount of time we required once a request has been sent to the database and one to get a response from the server or from the database. That determining the performance measurement is also we are doing under the physical design. For example, if I am requesting my Gmail account by using my user ID and password, once a request has been sent from requested client to the server, then the database, it will go to the database, and in the database it starts to mapping where my user ID and password is located. Then it will map user ID and password. If it is correct, then database will be responding to the requested user. Similarly, here also we are providing a protection and then security measures for the database, and as well as we are going to check the performance of the database also we are doing under the physical database design. This is what, so the 4 steps we are following under the database design process. The third point is move to the characteristics of database approach. The main characteristics of database approach will be compared with the file processing approach. So there are basically 4 characteristics approaches are there. First one, self-describing nature of a database system. Second one, insulation between program and data abstraction, support of multiple view of the data, and last characteristics of database approach is sharing of data and multi-transaction processing. Now first we will see first characteristics, that is self-describing nature of a database system means what? A self-describing nature of a database system is nothing but a database or DBMS will be having a catalog, so that is data catalog or metadata, where we are stores the description of the database. The description we are also calling it as a metadata. This allows the DBMS software to work with a different software or with a different database. So therefore it is what we are calling it as a self-describing nature of a database system. And second characteristics of DBMS is insulation between program and data abstraction. So under this, so we are just pointing out what is meant by program data independence and what is the meaning of the program operation independence. The program data independence is nothing but it allows the changing data storage structures and operations without having to change the DBMS access program. That is, we are calling it as a program data independence. Means the structure of the data file where we have stored, so it will be stored separately, and access program so will be stored separately. So there should not be changes in the whenever we are accessing the data from the database, then so it is totally independent. So totally we are calling it as independent, therefore we are calling it as the property program data independence. The program will be we are stored in the metadata and data we are stored separately, therefore we are calling it as, I told 2 storage medias are there, metadata and as well as actual data. In the actual data we are storing a data and programs or structure of the program, syntax of the program, so we are storing in the metadata, or we can call it as also metadata. And one more point is program operation independence. The program operation independence is nothing but user application program can operate on the data by invoking operations through their name and parameters, regardless how operations are implemented. Such operation we are calling it as program operation independent. So here you can see user application programs can operate on the data by invoking these operations through their names and arguments, regardless of how the operation are implemented. Means here we are not concentrating on program, whether it is a Java program, inside the Java we are using a DBMS, or what type of application program we are using. Irrespective of that, so based on what type of what operation we are implementing, so based on that the program has to work. This characteristics allows the program data independence and program operation independence both together. We are calling it as a data abstraction. And the third characteristics of DBMS is support of multiple view of the data. Means each user may see a different view of the database which describes only the data of interested to the user. Means, for example, I will tell you. So, university database is there, vtu.ac.in. The students which they are retrieving the information from the university database, that is different because of their perspective or their view manner. They are interacting with the database and they are retrieving the information. But when we are talking with respect to a college or administrators or principals or office people, they are extracting the information or they are storing the information to the VTU. Their perspective or their view will be different. With a different perspective or different view manner, a database, the same database will be using. Therefore, this is what one of the characteristics where it supports of the multiple view of the data. Okay. So next, last fourth one, sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing system. The DBMS may include must include the concurrency control software. For I will tell you what is meant by concurrency control software. For example, for the airline reservation purpose, if you are reserving a particular seat, okay, in that case, once if you select on that seat, then the concurrency control software will be blocking that seat and then it has been allocated to you until and unless your payment process will complete. Once your payment process will complete, there will be a buffer time will be given to that seat for you which has been allotted, which has been trying to book from you. That is for 10 minutes. Let us consider based on the buffer time, it might be a 10 minutes or sometimes it might be a 5 minutes. That seat has been allocated to you. So after 5 minutes, if you won't do the payment process, then automatically that seat will be allocated seat will be deallocated from you and then it will be open to all other users, those who want to book the ticket. So this concurrency control software will do these are all the things. Means that will maintain or blocking the tickets and reallocating the tickets or else deallocation of the tickets. Those are all functionalities will be done by using the concurrency control. When n number of or several transaction will comes or request will comes to the database, then it will manage the concurrency control software will manage. So what type of request has been received, what type of user. So based on that, it supports to do the transactions. The DBMS must enforce the several transaction properties like ACID property. In short form, we can call it as ACID. In that, some of we have listed here. One is isolation property and second one is atomicity property. By using these are all the properties, we can maintain the concurrency control software when it will be shared multi-transaction processing system or else the data has been shared for a multi-transaction